Good morning and welcome. This is News Check. My name is Ben Njeu and I will be assisted by Byron Abuli for the sign language interpretation. And for the next 2 hours or so, we will be actually having a discussion on various issues actually surrounding the COVID-19 and the effect that it has had on the economy. Kindly hit me up on Twitter at Ben Njeu, at KBC Channel 1. The hashtag to use is NewsCheck. But first things first, apologies, will not be with Byron Abuli. On the bottom right of your screen is Lucy Mwaura. I will be engaging an expert in the field much later. But before then, let's have a look at the reporter's diary. That is some of the issues that we'll be looking at in the course of the day. Remember, the government giving an update of on the coronavirus pandemic right here in the country. And of course, the world is also giving actually the statistics as they are. Well, we will be getting to that, but just before then, what do you know or what don't you know about the coronavirus? Take a look.
Yes, women with COVID-19 can breastfeed if they wish to do so. However, they should practice respiratory hygiene during feeding, wearing a mask where available, wash hands before and after touching the baby, routinely clean and disinfect surfaces they have touched. You can reach the Minister of Health through emergency toll-free line 0800-721316 or through 0729471414 and 0732353535 for more information. You can get more information on COVID-19 by calling 719 or dialing *719# on your phone.
That's some of the brief facts that you should know about the COVID-19. And remember, the government is the only body mandated to give correct and factual information about the coronavirus. And just before we go to our discussion, as a country continues to fight the coronavirus pandemic, which is an invincible enemy, we must register our eternal gratitude to our frontline battalion. We thank our healthcare workers, our security, defense and administration sectors, all people of goodwill and those who show solidarity in this fight. Thank you all for your commitment, patriotism and sacrifice. We shall overcome. And as I always say, keep clean, keep safe, keep the distance, and keep the hope alive. We will definitely overcome. Well, as I had alluded earlier, we will be discussing the coronavirus pandemic effect on Kenyans. And my viewpoint question for today will be, what more incentives should Kenyans be given to cushion them economically? What more incentives should Kenyans be given to cushion them economically? It could be by the government. You've seen a private sector also chipping in, and even some of the companies have made it compulsory for the workers to observe these rules. Some have even given them incentives. Some even following what the government has said in terms of mask, in terms of reduction on taxes. That gets to the figures. And today, in our discussion, we have the Kenya National Chamber of Commerce and Industry CEO, Central Region CEO, Daniel Miano. Karibu sana.
Thank you very much, Njeu.
A lot to be talked about when you talk about the coronavirus and how it has affected the economy. But first things first, for the interest of Kenyans, what exactly is the mandate of the Kenya National Chamber of Commerce and Industry?
Yeah, thank you, Njeu. So Kenya National Chamber of Commerce and Industry is a member-based organization, and we focus mostly on the business community.
Yes.
And our main mandate is to protect, promote, and advocacy for the business community. In this pandemic that we are having right now, the COVID-19, we've put a lot of measures in terms of how we can cushion our business people. And also, what other measures do we take post-corona, because we're going to have post-corona after this, and what exactly should, how the government should be assisting our people, and also deep down in the government. Chamber of Commerce structure is we have the National Chamber of Commerce, which is held by our chamber president, that is Richard Ngatia. And then after the national, we have regional. So if maybe you can look at the previous provinces, but now we talk of the counties, we have now the regional chambers. And then after the regional chapter, now we have the county chapters, which again now are devolved system, which each county has its own chairman, directors, and CEOs who deal for that chapter. So that is the structure of the chambers. And as I said, really on corona now we are really focusing on how we'll protect, promote, and also focus on advocacy for our members.
And still on the same, I've heard that you have a regional Kenya National Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Perhaps there's a difference because when talking about counties and regions, they have different economic backgrounds. They also have different mandates.
Yeah. So just as the structure of the national government, where we have the national government and the regional government, where the commanders and the counties, the same way the chamber structures work. And as you put it right, is each region is unique on its own. For example, the Northeastern region, the Nairobi region, and the Central region, or the Mombasa region, all of them have their unique needs. So it's always good, once you bring the counties together, for example, I'll talk of Central region where we have 5 counties, which is Kiambu, Kirinyaga, Nyandarua, Murang'a, and Nyandarua. You will find most of it economically is more agricultural based. So their needs are more correlated. When you look at Mombasa, then again, as a region, their needs are separate. So that is why it's important to have a region. And then now from the region, we have the county chapters, which now again run through the county, but at the end of the day, then we have the overall. So each region is unique on its need, and each also county. You might find you in the same county, in the same region, but your needs might differ a little bit from, for example, if you talk of Mount Kenya region, which you can call the western side of it, you might find whatever Meru County might really need is not the same thing that Tharaka Nithi or Embu might need at the same time.
Let's first of all go to the Central region. What are some of the duties that you do or you perform there, and how unique is it from other regions?
So, as I had mentioned, the Central region being an agriculture-based and also the hub of business. For example, I can give an example with Kiambu County on its own. We have towns like, for example, Thika. You'll find like Thika sub-county is an industrial county, is an industrial town on its own. So we have a lot of industries and business people in Thika town and other towns. So you will find, apart from agriculture, we need also to promote these businesses from the micro, small, medium enterprises to the small, medium enterprises, all the way to the industries. Then apart from that, the agriculture is how do we promote them? How do we get markets for them? If, for example, if it's Nyandarua, if they are doing the potatoes, after the agricultural part is done, how do we now get them to the market? So we do a networking linkage also through the national government, the national chapter, whereby we can go outside there in the country, look for also the market for these people, and also see how they can get subsidies from the county governments and also from the national government. Yeah.
And let's say yesterday, the fuel prices were reduced by between 4 shillings and 18 shillings. And if my director, Mugo, can find that clip, it was reduced by between 4 shillings and 18 shillings. And of course, kerosene taking the biggest chunk of 18.8. Let's first of all have a look at it, and then we can talk about it.
$5.58 per barrel in March. On the other hand, the shilling has been weakening against the dollar from a low of 100.97 in January, 101.27 in February to 104.05 in March. This has eaten into the reductions in pump prices that Kenyans would have enjoyed. Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority has reduced the pump price of a litre of super petrol by 18 shillings, while kerosene is down 18 shillings and 18 cents. However, a litre of diesel has been reduced by a lower margin of 4 shillings and 9 cents. The Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority attributes the latest pump price reductions to lower landed costs of the petroleum products. The pump price reductions would have been by a wider margin were it not for the shilling that weakened 2.75% to the dollar, hitting 104.05 to the greenback. Fuel will be cheapest in Mombasa, where a litre of super petrol will retail at 90 shillings 40 cents, diesel at 95 shillings 9 cents, while kerosene is 74 shillings 82 cents. In Nairobi, a litre of super petrol will retail at 92 shillings 87 cents, diesel at 97 shillings 56 cents, while kerosene is 77 shillings 28 cents. Fuel will be most expensive in Mandera, where a litre of super petrol goes for 105 shillings 91 cents, diesel costs 110 shillings 60 cents, and kerosene is at 90 shillings 32 cents.
A lot of discussion since the fuel prices, the international fuel prices went down. And when Kenyans heard that, mixed reactions. Some are happy, but let's just face the fact is that there is reduction in the use of fuel across the world because of the coronavirus pandemic. And former Finance Minister Amos Kimunya said it could be counterproductive as some unscrupulous businessmen might decide to hold fuel. What is your take on that?
Yeah, in terms of Kimunya's view, it's a valid point, but you also look at the other hand, because that's why we have the Energy Regulatory Authority, yes, which is supposed actually to calm down those people who will want to hold fuel at this moment. Yes. But one thing is first to thank, because especially for the transport sector, let's talk about especially diesel and kerosene. Diesel coming down, and I wish even it went down further, because it's what now diesel drives the economy. Yes. When you talk of the industries, most of them use diesel in terms of transport. Name it, if it's matatu, if it's transport of goods, all these trucks, they use diesel. So if diesel coming down, at least, so we are hoping also the manufacturers will be able to reduce the cost of these products. So it comes in handy. Kerosene again comes as a big relief, because especially, for the lack of a better word, I don't like using the word common mwananchi, but yes, we know people still use paraffin, as much as we've tried to reduce the price of LPG gas so that most people can afford. But for the common mwananchi, most of them still use kerosene, especially in the informal sector. And the reduction comes again at a good time when most of them are casuals. Yes. Some have been laid off, which maybe we'll be discussing later on how we are trying to work and mitigate that. But if any cost from the goods and products to kerosene to anything, any reduction at this moment will really come in handy.
And from your analysis, could this ease the inflation?
Not by a big margin. Actually, what I'm foreseeing is, from my personal opinion, is for the next 2 to 3 months, we're going to be hit hard by a recession. Yes. And what we do now and what we will do after the corona will really matter how we recover from this. Yeah. And
many Kenyans hope that the fuel prices would reduce by a bigger margin. bearing in mind that the international fuel prices have really dropped. Do you think perhaps the ERC should have done something better? 18 shillings for kerosene, 4 shillings for diesel.
Yeah, kerosene, that's 18 is quite a margin.
Yes.
Actually, I cannot remember the last time we had such a reduction of 18 shillings. That's a huge margin.
Yeah.
What I prayed for was on diesel. If diesel would have gone further, even maybe to 10 shillings, then that one will have really helped, because if you look at, let me talk of the transport sector, whereby the matatu, they have reduced the number of passengers they carry. And one of the things they have been saying, if you can reduce the diesel, then we'll be able to operate comfortably. So I think maybe if ERC would have worked on the diesel, even if 4 shillings is still something, we always appreciate something that comes your way.
Yes.
But if it would have gone down a little bit, then I think that would have really helped.
And for businessmen, a lot have talked about the fuel should have actually, the diesel should have had a bigger margin as opposed to the petrol. We have trucks that are transporting essential goods and essential goods and essential services in the transport sector. We rely on matatus, which most of them actually rely on diesel.
Yeah, true. I'm not an expert when it comes to fuel and how ERC actually works their margins, and I know they are always affected by the global markets. But the reduction on petrol was almost again a huge margin, almost 18 shillings. If these could have been translated to diesel, to be honest, right now, even if you walk around CBD, most outlets are closed.
Yes.
And we have people working at home online. Maybe I will mention maybe the middle class. Most of the middle class are at home, and they are the ones who use fuel most of the time. So most of these cars are parked. But the matatus are still on the roads, the trucks, we are still saying the essential goods need to be moved from one area to another. The medical supplies need to be moved. So diesel will have, at least, if I was praying even to see maybe 10 shillings or even the 18 shillings reduction on diesel. That one will have really worked magic for the economy. Okay.
Away from the fuel, and let's look at a central bank yesterday, and actually allow me to read this. Will not be listed on CRB if you fail to repay a loan of 1,000 shillings or less. This is according to the new CRB issued on Tuesday, that is yesterday, by CBK, and ordered delisting of all loan defaulters who owe lenders 1,000 shillings or less. Plus, the central bank has also further barred unregulated digital lenders. Of course, we are talking about the mobile money lenders. From listing defaulters on CRB after numerous complaints from the public about misusing of the information. Some even call close family members and friends. Is this a welcome move?
Yeah, that's kudos to Governor Njeu, the CBK governor, because it was timely also, especially for the youth. Yes. They are the most who use these mobile lending apps, and you find at this moment they also do their small businesses. They do, some of them are now casuals, as I'm saying, and so when they default at this moment, then listing them as here will be that they cannot get a loan from someone else. Then it becomes very difficult for their lives. I know you will find some of them even have 3 to 4 apps on their phones, borrowing apps.
Yes.
And it becomes very difficult when one person, one of the apps is not giving you loans, and they have listed you on CRB, and you cannot borrow with there. So at this time, it's a relief, but it does not mean that it becomes a habit of not paying.
Yes.
But it's the same way we're saying the bank loans also, we should get reliefs, the same way we're saying. So it's a good move if people can be delisted from the CRB at this moment, so that at least people can be able to maneuver. And we are looking at a scenario whereby if this continues for the next 2 to 3 months, we do not want somewhere whereby the youth, especially where the majority, they cannot get, even if it's 1,000, 2,000 to buy a few commodities here and there, and they can borrow money. And also we want to encourage more lenders to come on board and give them money and let them have a relief until maybe after Corona. Then we can see how now to get back to them in terms of payment plans.
Yeah. And of course, it's a welcome move by CBK. Yeah. But 1,000 shillings is quite little, looking at how the trend that the youths are borrowing, and especially at this time.
I think that's borrowed because if you look at these mobile lending apps, most of them start at 1,000. Yeah, they always have a threshold of 1,000, and when you repay, you get your loan capacity improved as you go on. So I think that most of them have borrowed that 1,000. You needed to borrow more, but now already you've gone to CRB. The 1,000 already has become listed. Yes, you already you listed in the CRB. You cannot, but if you are delisted now, you can be able to borrow maybe from another app or try and even pay that 1,000 so that at least you can be upgraded to the next level. Maybe they would have increased, but I think it was that's the threshold I see most of the lenders giving a minimum of 1,000, then you graduate up. Most of them I know they like, especially let me talk about the people who live daily hand to mouth. You'll find somebody who will need to borrow 300 or 500 for today. Go and do some casual jobs, repay that tomorrow, then come again and pay. So that is how the survival is. And also, like, for example, Safaricom coming up with no payments for people transacting with 1,000 and below. So you can see also Safaricom was working with that 1,000 and below, because that is, we are trying, there's a certain sector that the government and CBK, they are trying to cushion. Yeah, so they really borrow 10, 20,000. Yeah, so that's why they are working on that. I think that's what leads to that.
And President Uhuru Kenyatta did announce a raft of measures to cushion Kenyans, reduction of the pay-as-you-earn, the value-added tax, and also for SMEs, they were given some tax relief. Let's go to the landlords.
Yes.
And some have actually, without even being compelled by anyone, to slash the rent. Others have even given their tenants a relief of 2-3 months as we wait for the situation to normalize. Senate also is proposing radical measures which include talking to landlords so that they may not charge tenants rent for a couple of months.
Yeah. So when we talk of, for example, from the side of chambers, we have members, our business people, who rent their premises. And we also have landlords who are still members of chambers. So when we are talking of cushioning that tenant, we also need to cushion the landlord. So let's start with the tenant. It's especially right now, even those people who are earning salaries, even if we have the reduction of pay you earn, you find most companies are even paying salaries slashing by 50%. Others even are paying only 25%. So it's hard times are here. So it will be very prudent if the landlords now can come with these rent reliefs for 3 months. But again, the landlord come and ask the question. For example, if I built my houses using a loan, what happens with the bank? So again, we go back to the banks. We ask the banks, please, if you can also give loan relief to these tenants, so that also they don't have the pressure. So it becomes a full chain. Then also the bank will ask now back to the government. Also, you ease on us. So that it becomes a full chain. So at the end of the day, we go back to the government. And these are some of the things we're saying, for example, when you talk of monetary and fiscal policies that the Senate and the National Assembly should be pushing for, is if the government can reduce these taxes and also reduce these interest rates, so that also the bank can feel, we can also give the release, the loan relief to the people. We can also give lower interest rates, so that at least everybody can feel comfortable. But it should be a full chain, so that also the landlord feels, the bank is not on my neck. And perhaps even the county governments can give tax incentives for land rates, right? Exactly. And Kenya, and you working for the Kenya National Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Kenya does import a lot of items outside. Of course, the trade minister did announce that for second-hand clothes, they have been stopped for now until the condition or the situation becomes better. How have you noticed the change in the imports that are coming in the country? Actually, with COVID, let me talk of a specific item. Yes, face masks. this is something actually for the last 3 weeks I've been focusing on directly. We've all been putting face masks and other medical PPEs.
Yes.
We've all relied especially with imports from China. And I can tell you, a month ago, we could get a lot of people asking, if the county governments, the pharmacists, asking where can we get these commodities, since now even China is not releasing the commodities. So the imports have really affected the country because we rely, but it's also a learning process. Yeah, I always look at it from my philosophical view of that this is an opportunity also for our industries to rise up and provide this. Because, for example, face masks, now we have people who are doing them locally. We have even the markets in the estates. The tailors are doing the cloths. As much as they are not the right thing, it's better than nothing. So when we talk generally of imports not coming into Kenya, it's really affected the country as a whole. But also we look at it from a learning process that things like the PPEs, these are things which we can start manufacturing on our own. I was looking even at the machines that produce the face mask, for example.
Yes.
These are machines which I know our industrialists in this country can afford and bring them here and we produce, rather than just waiting for imports all the time. Yeah.
And I was following up on something the president of the Kenya National Chamber of Commerce and Industry did say on the national government, urging the national government to create a stimulus fund which can be used to relieve businesses which are largely affected by the COVID-19.
Yeah, that's especially post-corona. If we can get a fund, especially for the business community, so that to normalize things, the government can also come in and lower the interest rate, so that more people can start borrowing, so that at least we can have some money flowing in the economy. So what Richard Ngatia was alluding to is some of these incentives that the government should look at. And especially the business people, for example, I can talk of Chamber of Commerce who are our members. If they can be given some money, even this time or even after Corona, so that we can go back to normalization. Remember, apart from the essential goods, so many businesses have already closed. We have EPZ, which employs thousands of people. For example, there is one company that they normally do all their exports. And they had to lay off more than 3,000 employees. But we were able to negotiate with them, give them the job of doing face masks, and they were able to recall back 1,000 employees. So, and this is because the face masks are essential. So the essential goods will try and struggle even during the corona. But there are businesses which have really completely shut down, they cannot work because they are not under essentials. But you know, it's not like life has been put on a pause.
Yes.
So that after Corona we will unpause and continue normally. No, we'll have a lot of problems. So this type of levies and mitigations that the government can come in and help business people to continue after Corona. And also we are talking of even looking at up to 2021.
Yes.
Even if it's lowering the interest rate, it's not only post-corona, then we look at maybe another 6 months, so that until everything normalizes. So these are some of the economic stimulus policies that the government can put in.
And Kenya, as I said earlier, relies a lot on imports. And because some countries like China do support a lot of cottage industries, which we don't have as much. And now we have to make a lot of things ourselves, because some of the things that we were importing cannot come in. Perhaps even the other side is actually experiencing the same problem. How can the government perhaps help incentives for cottage industries?
It's an eye-opener. Even before I talk of the national government, we can actually devolve this and start challenging. For example, Kiambu County have been working with the economic advisor to the governor. And these are some of the discussions we've been having, because we say, with the issues that we are having, I always advocate for, let's spend more time on looking for solutions. When a problem comes, spend 10% on identifying that problem, but spend 90% on the solution. So you will find some of these solutions can be in-house. So even from the county government, you find they have these funds, which, for example, let me talk for Kiambu, they have something like Jijenge Fund. And I was discussing with her and saying, these are the funds which will be given to the cottage industry. Give it, even if it's interest-free.
Yes.
Give it to them, because now you are able to identify who is who. If there's that small tailor who is doing the face masks right now from their home or from their shopping center, these are people now who you should bring up and see how do we work with these people to make even apart from the face masks, we have other PPEs, we have the scrubs, the gowns, which all these people, which can be produced locally. So that's from the county government, because they all have these funds which they can lend to the cottage industry. Also from the Ministry of Trade. We have the Kenya Industrial Estate also. They normally have funds. So this is the time to utilize these funds and try and promote this cottage industry, so that if today they are able to be cushioned and given some money to start production even at this moment. As we are crying on COVID, then some can also rise. And this is the right time to do it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And in one of the proposals by the chamber, they were talking about business resilience fund to support major businesses, because there are some major businesses that have literally closed shop.
Yeah.
Perhaps the government can chip in. How can the government chip in? And actually, it's actually strained already.
Yeah. You know, the government does not have some money just kept somewhere to give out. And, But for something like a religion fund we'll go back to if the CBK, if we can be able to lower the interest rates, then these big businesses can walk into banks and get loans, even if it's at 1%, 2%. We've seen even, we have countries, for example, in Europe, who are planning post-corona. And they are also discussing this to see how can we give these businesses loans. The whole idea is how low can we get? Even if give me at even 0.5%.
Yes.
So that is how, that will be a good cushion, because I'll be giving you at a lower rate. You can go back to your business, revive your business, come pay back my loan. Then at some point we will normalize, and then life goes on.
And let's look at the decision that the president announced. 4 counties are on what I would call a partial lockdown, because you cannot get out of Nairobi, Kwale, Kilifi, and it's because of the coronavirus.
Yeah.
There are some businessmen who were operating perhaps from Kiambu to Nairobi. There's somebody who brings like 100 liters of milk every day to Nairobi. There's someone who actually has to travel between counties so that he may be able to conduct his trade. This has really been affected, and of course this will have a ripple effect on the economy.
One thing I really want actually to thank the president is they have really restricted themselves to go to a full lockdown.
Yes.
And they understand our economy fully. I sit in one of the disaster management boards, and these are discussions that we've been having. The essential goods are moving. What we are trying, also the government is trying to do, is avoid the movement from county to county, just to avoid the transfer of this coronavirus. Because the earlier we do it, I believe in preventive measures. If we can prevent the corona from spreading, the faster we'll go back to our normal lives. So the essential goods are moving. If you talk of milk, if you talk of bread, the manufacturers are still manufacturing. People are allowed to, in your county, you can go to your shop and buy the commodities that you need. We have businesses, for example, who will want to move their goods from here to Mombasa, and they are not under essential. Also, these are people who have been affected. So these are the kind of industries that we are saying, once things normalize, they need to get a backing from the government. And if you can have this kind of funds channeled, either through the county government or through the banks, and where the interest loan, again, I'm saying we will have just to go back to the banks, get loans, because again, the government does not have money to dish out. Then I think we can be able to revive. But the essential commodities, for now, at least they are able to move, and at least make sure at least the supermarket are stocked, the small shops in the estate are stocked, so that at least life can keep on moving on smoothly.
Okay, and before we look at electronics, which some experts have said that definitely there will be a spike on electronics, bearing in mind that a lot of electronics we use here in Kenya and in Africa come from China and South Korea.
Yeah.
We'll be discussing that, but for now we are crossing over to our reporter Chola Simon, who is in Siaya with the latest on the coronavirus pandemic. and exactly the mitigation that are there, and also what people are doing to make sure that it does not spread and they do not get the virus. Achola?
Well, Troy, thank you very much indeed. As you rightly put it, we are in Siaya County. We are at the County Commissioner's offices present here in Siaya County. And the reason why we're here is that the government spokesperson, Cyrus Oguna, accompanied by the Director General of Health, Dr. Amoth, and other head of departments are actually here in Siaya, the key business being that of wanting to know the preparedness of this county. Remember, just a couple of days back, the first case was actually realized in this. The first case in this county was actually realized in Ukwala, and the person thereafter, of course, buried with the reaction, of course, that followed. So the top government officials are actually here in Siaya County, wanting to know how well the county is prepared in terms of ensuring, indeed, they are able to tackle if there will be more cases, and or indeed those people who are actually in close contact with the departed person, if they've actually been taken care of the way they are supposed to be taken care of. As I speak to you, we already know that family members, close family members, and those who are actually in contact with the deceased have already been quarantined. If you went to the home in Siaya, in Ukwala village, you'll find that the home is actually empty. What we also know that the doctors and the nurses who actually attended to the deceased at Matibabu Hospital in Ukwala are also in quarantine. What we also know is that some of the journalists who actually went to that home thereafter, when the story actually broke, have actually will be proceeding to quarantine very soon. Their offices in Kisumu have actually been disinfected, and the procedure is actually ongoing to ensure that indeed those who are actually in contact with the deceased are either in quarantine or are actually taken care of to ensure that indeed the spread of the virus does not continue. What Oguna will be doing here, as I speak to you right now, he's going to the county governor's office, that is the office of Colonel Rasanga, and then thereafter he's expected to go to an isolation center in Bondo, and then from there he'll be coming back here for a meeting with the security agents in this county before he proceeds to the Matibabu health facility. And of course, if time allows, they will be going to the home just to get a feel of exactly what all the measures that have actually been put in place to ensure that indeed they nip in the bud the spread of the virus in this county. Thereafter, we are expecting that we've been told that the government spokesman will be talking to us at around 2:30 or thereabout. But a key issue being just to ascertain the status of preparedness of this county in terms of fighting coronavirus. Probably, Troy, what I would also want to bring you up to speed with is that investigations as ordered by the county, by the governor of Siaya County, surrounding the burial or the interment of the remains of the deceased are actually ongoing. Remember, the governor had ordered a thorough investigation to ascertain circumstances under which the victim's body was actually buried dead in the night, and wanted to know everything surrounds that procedure. Of course, there's been hue and cry from locals and leaders from this region saying that the guidelines, the World Health Organization guidelines, must be followed in disposing of bodies of people suspected to have died out of the coronavirus. But of course, the government coming out strongly and saying, reminding Kenyans, this has been a clarion call over and again that these are not usual times, and people should not expect a normal operation. And as such, some of the decisions that will be taken will, of course, infringe on cultural practices that are rampant in this region and, of course, the country at large. And as such, Kenyans must recognize the fact that these are not usual times. And as such, on one or two occasions, we will find ourselves in a situation whereby we will go against what we are used too. So basically, Troy, that is what is happening. We'll keep a keen eye on what is happening here, and most definitely at around 2:30 or in our subsequent bulletin, we'll be able to actually brief our listeners and viewers of exactly what Muguna would have said in his tour over this county. Back to you, Troy.
Thank you so much, Achola Simon in Siaya there. And actually, he was touching on the debacle that surrounded the burial of one of the Kenyans that lost his life due to the coronavirus over the weekend. And as he has said, investigations are underway, and government spokesman had talked about giving a statement at about 2:30. We'll be getting back to you for more. But back to our discussion, in case you're joining us right now, this is News Check, and we are looking at the economic we are looking at the economic some of the economic factors and some of the economic detriments that the coronavirus has come with, and especially right here in the country, which has been compounded by the curfew and, of course, the cessation of 4 counties. Mr. Miano, before we went for that quick check of Siaya County, we were talking about the electronics, be it phones, basically most of the electronics we use here in Kenya and Africa, they come from the Middle East, and you see China still is, although it is doing well to combat the spread of the virus, it is still hit. Some of the businesses that manufactured this are already closed, and right here in Kenya we are still waiting for those things.
Yeah. When you talk of electronics, they will go up,
including the medical equipment.
The medical equipment.
Yes.
Actually, at the moment, actually the prices are ridiculous, and that's one of the things that we've been trying to see how we can normalize this. So when you talk of the electronics coming in, and same also with cars, the port of Mombasa now is full of cars. People are not buying cars because the economy is more at a standstill.
Yes.
And but the electronics at the moment, they are not listed under essentials. So what even I keep on advocating and telling people is, if you have a phone and it's working, first use that. You don't need to go right and buying a phone, because we don't know. The problem is you don't know how long this is going to take. It's going to be another 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. Nobody knows. Yes. So whatever that little money, don't focus on buying electronics. If you have that small television, keep going. Yes. As long as power is there.
Yes.
Don't try focusing
the
on
medical equipment have been really affected, right?
Yeah. Talk of things like ventilators.
Yes.
We've been focusing really more on preventive measures rather than curative. Yes. Which is a good thing. So that's when you talk of the face masks, the other PPEs. But when you talk of the curative, we need the ventilators. And that's why I'm really happy again when you talk of the cottage industry. I've been seeing some small industries and also some medium enterprises coming up with creative ways of coming up with ventilators, which again the government should be promoting. The other thing I would ask is, if people can just focus on these essentials which we are talking about, rather than the electronics, their prices will go up. But the little that is there also the government, in terms also of importing things, if we can give the importers, let's say the pharmaceutical companies, this time, because most of them are now they are using cargo, they are bringing cargo through air. Let us carry the essential. If it's electronics, let it be the medical electronics coming in, not you asking for 1 million televisions to be brought here so that you can sell. So if we can also give the pharmaceutical companies the chance also first to provide these essentials that are really needed.
And the small businesses are worst hit by this virus. What perhaps could be the way that they can be jump-started or resuscitated?
As I said earlier, we need also to think post-corona. And when you talk of resuscitating these small businesses, is now what the government actually should do post-corona. So far, they have tried to mitigate the spread and make the essential goods available, but all these companies will need to move on. So maybe I can talk of 4 pointers which, from my view, will be very important for the government to put in place so that even post-corona, we can resuscitate these companies, all small, medium companies, so that they can come back. Number one, you can ask the government to increase public spending. continue most of these toll projects, because also we know that when the projects are going on and we have a lot of public spending from the government, then at least we have money flowing around. The other thing I would want to request them is to lower the taxes. Even post-corona, for example, the president did good to reduce the VAT from 16 to 14%. Even if it was to go lower, the better. But look at all the taxes and see what can be reduced to help restart all these organizations. Then also we need them to inject money into the economy. Something we call monetary easing. That also will assist in most of the organizations. You know, when there's money flowing in the public, so there's a lot of spending, so at least people are able now to get money here and there. Then the last one and the major one is on the interest rates from the bank. That one I think will be the major game changer, because if people are able to get these loans at a very lower rate, then at least most of them will be able to come back, get these loans and start again, even if it's semi-starting from where you were, and keep on going until we normalize.
And the president, he had a meeting with the Kenya Bankers Association, and that's when actually some of the lenders said that we will not be charging anything from 1,000 to send money, and some of the incentives that they announced. And I'm looking at the loans and the interest. Of course, everything so far, even after that meeting, we are not witnessing so many banks talking about we have given this amount of money. If we have reduced, we have slashed the interest. If it's a soft loan, these are the new rates. Don't you think it's a tall order to when it comes to post-corona?
Yeah, it will not be easy, but I'll tell you it will be worth it. I don't know if normally, you know, when we come to the media, we always restricted on mentioning of names, but there is one bank that actually yesterday announced Cooperative Bank. Also have ABSA, who really talked about some measures, especially on loan reliefs for members for the next 3 months. They will need time to adjust. So at least that's how, when I'm talking of post-corona, is maybe for the next 2 to 3 months, because if they've given you a loan at 14, 20 or whatever interest, then that one will continue. But now when we are talking of post this corona, if now you say after corona and people are back to normal business, we are going to give loans, but we're going to give it at 1% or 2%, so that at least it starts, like it's another starting point. But going back, if I'd already agreed and given you a loan at 14 or 20%, I cannot go and reduce the interest rates to. But after that, maybe we can start like a new clean sheet and we move on from there.
And how will the strengthening of a local supply chain for traders and business people be able to access import substitute goods help? Because a lot of the things that we were importing, now we have to think about manufacturing them.
That one actually will work best, because that one will mean more employment for Kenyans. If we start manufacturing things here. And it's something that we've been advocating for a while. To be honest, if you look at almost 50% of what we import, we can manufacture here.
Yes.
If you travel, for example, when we are in China, most of these, even if it's small things as making of tiles, the tile is here. If you look at the manufacturing companies in China, and we have to import these tiles all the way. What I've been advocating for, especially now through the county governments, if they can start now these small industries and promote them, so that instead of us importing these tiles from China, why can't we start now bringing the machines, the same machine from China, purchasing these machines, coming and starting these industries here, so that maybe it's, corona is a learning disease that has come to tell us, wake up. You don't need to be importing everything. Even I go back to face masks, the other PPEs, the scrubs for the doctors and all that. Right now we have even doctor manufacturers. I'll mention even someone like in Kikuyu who's doing the medical gowns for the waterproof medical gowns, the non-woven.
For the medical staff.
For the medical staff. We've been, since time immemorial, the pharmaceutical companies have been importing these things. And it can be done here. And it's so simple. That non-woven material, there's somebody manufacturing here. So this person, just the person doing the garment, just need to go promote that, buy that garment. So it's a wake-up call for all of us and say, you know, we can bring this machinery here, even if it's those face masks. Yes. Why don't you bring now the machinery and do it from here? We create jobs, our economy grows because we get this mentality of we must import from our head.
Hold your thought, because we are headed to the Mombasa locals where Kilifi Deputy Governor is having his day in court.
But one of the that's our main one. They tried, but there still remains a lot to be covered. That is another ground upon which we must have some attention. The other ground is that Your Honor,
Those are live pictures from the Mombasa Law Courts where Kilifi Deputy Governor Gideon Saburi is having his day in court. Remember, he is one of the people who are being charged. Yesterday we had Father Oduor, who had traveled from Italy to Kenya but had not self-isolated himself, and he will be remanded for 2 more days. We will be bringing you a comprehensive report on what will happen to the Deputy Governor of Kilifi, Gideon Saburi. You are joining us now. This is a news check, and today we are looking at the effects of COVID-19 on businesses, both small and big. And joining me on set is the Kenya National Chamber of Commerce and Industry Central Region CEO Daniel Miano. And before then, we were also looking at how businesses have been hit. How has Kenya Chamber of Commerce and Industry, how hard have you also been hit?
Yeah, we've been hit hard, especially for our members, us being a member organization. And as I had mentioned earlier, like focusing more on the solutions, and we've come up with a few solutions that we've advised our members to take.
Yes.
And I had earlier mentioned that the county chapters were requested to come up with all the issues that the small businesses in their counties are having, which was collated and again put in as a report, which was handed over to our chamber president, Richard Ngatia, who sits at the National Emergency Committee, so that they can represent the business people there. So one of the things that we've been pushing at the Central Region Office is, number one, we've been requesting organizations and businesses to start using technology. We have the online shopping, and I'm very impressed that right now, even if you go to the small towns, you'll find the supermarkets are doing home deliveries. Yeah, just use of technology, call, say, I want 1, 2, 3, how much, you pay again through online or whatever platform that you use, and the goods are delivered for you. So also the motorbike who's bringing there is getting some money, and everybody. But again, also doing the right measures. For example, having the sanitizers. If you don't have the sanitizers, people are washing their hands, and they are using face masks. Then the other thing is we've requested the county governments, and I can also give one example. For example, in Kiambu County, where we've had reduction of these licenses. We've had some of them being suspended. You don't pay license until post-corona, once everything normalizes. So at least that eases the ease of doing business. We've had other licenses, for example, being slashed into 50%. We have maybe even the transport sector not paying their parking fees, so that at least when all of us have our hands on the deck, then we make the business easy. So we've been able to advocate for this through the county governments and push the county governments at least to relinquish on some of these licenses, which again has worked very well. The other thing is we've been also trying to prevent our members, especially the business community, who are giving services to people. We do not want the services again to stall and come to a standstill. So we had one big issue again with some of our members who are pharmaceutical industry, again, as I had mentioned, not getting the merchandise which we should be giving our members to protect themselves. Now we are talking about the sanitizers and the face masks. So we've been able to bring several organizations together, which now sanitizers they are manufacturing, and be able to sell to our business people at a very reasonable price. Then the other issue of the face masks, we've been able to produce at the moment, again, using our member organizations. I'll mention of a company like Cancel Pharmaceuticals, which we are working very closely to produce face masks, using again the cottage industries and other industry. For example, one that we've been recruited at EPZ, now employing 1,000 employees who are at home, who have come back now to work, and we'll be able to produce between 70,000 to 100,000 face masks per day. So we will be doing bigger than any other. For example, Kitui, they are doing 30,000. But now with what we've done so far, we've started already churning out around 70,000 pieces. So that the other thing that we're talking about and telling our members is, especially if you are going to use the face masks, and which now has been made mandatory.
Yes.
Use the correct face masks. The problem is the pricing. So that's something else we've worked on really hard.
Yes.
So that the same amount of money, the 50 shillings or 60 shillings that you will purchase the cloth face mask, which again, fine, it's good, it's washable, but it's not the right, it does not give you the full prevention to 100%.
Yes.
So, but again, if you can get a similar face masks, but at the same price.
Yes, because we've seen some face masks are quite expensive, and especially the one recommended by WHO. But at least we are trying to sort that out.
Exactly. So WHO for the public, they recommend the 3-ply face masks,
yes,
which again now we are able even to sell a box at 2,500, which has 50 pieces, and the going price right now in most pharmacies you'll get at 4,000. So we've been able to reduce this to 2,500. And we want, even if we are able to produce more and reduce, but give people the correct thing to use. The N95s, again, have been used by the medics.
Yes.
Locally, I've not seen any company doing it so far. I think it's a little bit technical. That one, they are still there, but that one is for that. And so with these industries coming up and assisting us now be able to survive, and our members now, especially the business people, I keep on talking about them because they are our people.
Yes.
When I'm offering this service in my shop, at the supermarkets, and I know I'm well covered and the person coming in is well covered, so that again we avoid the spread of this, then we are able to work this thing out. In terms of the sanitizers also, we are doing the manufacturing locally, and we are able to sell to people in tanks of 200 liters, who are able now again to go and repackage into small quantities so that they can be able to sell. We had a meeting with the Public Transport Association in terms of also we want to see the transport sector, how again we will assist them with these face masks. We had a government spokesman yesterday saying the face masks that they are producing as a government will be for the vulnerable. So I'm looking at them distributing more to the slums. But the transport sector need to move on.
Yes.
So that's another thing that really pushed us, that we need to do mass production, and how do we go about it. So we've gotten the solutions, and just the day before yesterday we had a meeting with Nairobi chairman, and we were able to see how even the distribution will be done at a cheaper. The whole thing is how we can stop taking advantage of the coronavirus and being exorbitant.
Yes.
But if we're able to produce it in mass, then it will be a very good thing. Then the other thing that I would want us to really focus on, and I'm really waiting for the tenants and landlord association to give their presser, is if please they can listen to these business people and understand where they're coming from. I know they also have the banks, they have the loans, but not all of them are getting. We have landlords who are coming open and saying, you know, I've been with this person for 2, 3, 5 years. I can wait for another 3 months for this person maybe to normalize. Yes. Give them a release. Even I will not even ask you to pay me after I've given you a break for 3 months. Yes. We need more people like those to come on board. And even if you have a loan, if you can go talk to your bank, because again, the government cannot push the banks and have a blanket and say, you know, all people should not pay the rents. But this time around, the banks are listening. So go and say, no, I cannot charge my people, so also give me a loan relief, so that also I can give my tenant. So it becomes a full chain again. So these are some of the things that we've tried also to protect our members, and also request also the public. It's become a headache also with the public, because you come to my premises of business, I've put a tank of water, you can wash your hands, you can use the sanitizers, but we have people just utterly refusing to use. I tell you, you need to come in with a mask, you're refusing to do that. So even if we are in, all of us, we're in this together. If I've done my part, you do your part, and we'll be able now at least to mitigate this corona pandemic, and so that we can go back to our normal life. Yeah.
Indeed, this is News Check, and on our viewpoint question, we are asking what more incentives should Kenyans be given to cushion them economically. Do remember there's a raft of measures by the government and also private entities to support Kenyans fight this pandemic. Again, what more incentives should Kenyans be given to cushion them economically, and not only by government, even other stakeholders and even the private sector? Hit me up on Twitter at Ben Njeu, at KBC Channel 1. Remember the hashtag, we keep this conversation alive, is News Check. Right now, look, you have mentioned partners that you are partnering with some of the companies, perhaps to at least to try and normalize as much as you are hard hit. What are some of the partners that you are working to make sure that at least at the end of the day, the problem is kind of mitigated?
We have business partners who have come on board. I don't know if I can mention names, and you don't give me an invoice after this and say I was promoting them.
Yes, as long as it is helping Kenyans.
It is helping Kenyans. Yes, we are in this together.
Yes.
We have Ansel Pharmaceuticals. We've been working together to help in terms of distribution of the PPEs. And through Ansel Pharmaceuticals, we've been able to subcontract other companies to do the production. We have companies like Kega, Vicroot, and EPZ, who are now helping in production of these PPEs. And through Ansel Pharmaceuticals, actually I'll mention we've been able to supply WHO, we've been able to supply the county governments for the medics. Yeah, and so together with our teamwork and all these people being members of the Chamber of Commerce, then we're able to harness the flow and the chain. For example, if we are doing the production, how it gets for the packaging and the distribution. And again, we have the national bodies, for example, KEBS, who have really been supportive in all this and assuring that the quality standards are kept. And I really want to thank them. They are doing a very good job. And I think with this kind of partners, everybody, what I keep on advocating for is if everybody can do their small part.
Yes.
You, as a small business, see even what you can do for your community there. If you can be able to put a tank near the market or next to your home so that the public can use, go ahead and do that. Because if we keep on listening to what the CS for Health keeps on telling us and follow those measures by the Ministry of Health, then I think we will overcome this.
Indeed. We are taking a short, quick break. We'll be right back at about 20 minutes past 11 with the discussion. Let's keep the conversation alive.
Top on Channel 1.
But we get so amused every time. Now I'm not trying to preach to you. You never put up a fight, no.
Stand with me this time. Stand with me this time. Promise. Now.
Hello Tiffany.
Has he taken anything?
Hapana, hakuna kitu badia yako nacho.
Okay, sawa, sawa. Well, Steph over here is already as stubborn as Njugunu.
I just happen to be very good at becoming rude as well.
How did you get this job? Are you family?
What family? Do you have a problem? Why are you people shouting? This man thinks that he can come from wherever and come and teach me how to do my job. Jill, really?
Oh, hi.
I'm fine.
Do I know you from somewhere?
I'm your brother.
KBC, in collaboration with the Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development, is broadcasting enhanced out-of-class learning on radio, television, and online. Catch the lessons every weekday on KBC Channel 1 from 2 to 4 p.m. on KBC English Service and 15 FM from 9:15 a.m. to 5 p.m. and Radio Taifa from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. KBC English Service, Radio Taifa, and 15 FM are also available countrywide on the free-to-air Signet digital TV platform, or log on to www.kbc.co.ke for live streaming, or download the KBC Online app on Google Play Store. Kenya Broadcasting Corporation, ensuring learning no matter what.
Welcome back. This is News Check. I'm Ben Njeu, and we are discussing the effects of the COVID-19, especially on businesses, and more so right now where we have a curfew and even association of 4 counties, which has really affected businesses, small and big as well. And I'm joined by Daniel Miano, who is the CEO of the Kenya National Chamber of Commerce and Industry Central Region. And just before the breaks, we were talking about how companies and they're partnering with companies to make sure that all Kenyans, wherever you are, both business and individual Kenyans, are able to be helped to mitigate the effects of the COVID-19. And perhaps to come back to something we were discussing about a minute ago, the reviving of companies. We remember the cotton industry was doing very well, pyrethrum, and being a dart player, over 40% of all dart boards are manufactured right here in Kenya. So what can be done, and what are you doing, especially for those companies that, industries that need a kickstart? The cotton, the pyrethrum, the others crumbled like the sugar.
The sugar, yeah.
Yes.
So if we talk of cotton, actually, it's a very interesting times because today I think is when Munya will be giving a presser in terms of the hybrid seeds that they will be distributing to farmers.
Yes.
But this is the high time that we learned that we talk about the likes of Rivertex and other companies that were doing the cotton. And for example, I was looking at when you talk of the medical, some of these medical PPs, the woven ones, and you find like this is the high time, all these things that I say we import, if we had the farmers, the cotton farmers producing enough cottons, everything here can be produced here. You know, we are a lucky country in terms of agriculture. And if, for example, if we had the supply of cotton in full swing, and as I mentioned, we can bring now the machines for knitting and all the other machines. As a country, may not be well placed technologically, but in terms of other resources, we are very endowed. So it can really help if we can revive this. And I like the move by CS Munya, if we can be able to revive the cotton industry, and so that we can start promoting Kenya, buying Kenya. And as much as we also do that, is we look at the cost aspect. The cost aspect is what really affects us, because when it comes to production, cost is very essential. And if all the time we are doing local manufacturing and somebody can import it at a final product at a lesser price, then it tells you there's a problem. So if we can have more production and also the machinery coming in, then we can be able to revive some of these industries.
And we have reduced demand for both services and goods, which of course have a ripple effect on the economy and every Kenyan that we have in the country. How is it that we can boost perhaps an increase in demand?
Demand and supply is what drives an economy, basically. But let me talk of especially our Kenyan habit as Kenyans.
Yes.
We always look at the price. Price determines everything.
Look at the price first, and then everything, the quality,
every quality and everything comes second.
Later. Yes.
Yeah, so that's what I'm mentioning. If we can be able now to And I know we can compete with these countries. You just mentioned sugar right now. Give an example of sugar. Why sugar from maybe Uganda or Brazil can come to Kenya and come all the way and become still cheaper. It comes again back to the cost of production. And when you talk of cost of production, the element of technology comes in. If you go to our sugar industries, what has been ailing us, I remember even on his campus years back, I remember economic lecturer telling us, until we embrace technology, you cannot have an organization employing 3,000 people, paying them salaries, and you have another company with 200 or 300 doing the same production. You will never match. So we need to embrace technology. I know it's helpful for many, and especially the politicians. I know they don't like hearing this because they use this as a tool to tell, I'm going to get you jobs in this organization and all that. But it's a high time we focus now on farming more sugar canes, using again new technology, and again also bring the same technology to the factories so that you can be able to churn more. For example, if it's sugar, we can be able to do more sugar and at a cheaper cost. So at the end of the day, if we can do the agricultural products, Kenya being an agricultural country, most of the land, then we can be able now bring in the machinery, do it at a cheaper cost, and our Kenyans will be very happy when they go and the prices are low. They will be very satisfied. And all these middlemen will have nothing to bring from abroad and come and broker for Kenyans.
And perhaps what boost can we give to the agriculture sector? We do rely heavily on the agriculture sector, and I can say Kenya, we are doing at least better than 2 weeks ago, because the flowers, some are being transported as we speak now, and the whole industry was crying.
Yeah. Especially the flower industry employs over 30,000 casuals. Imagine having 30,000 people, for example, let's talk of Naivasha going home. Even that whole economy can just collapse.
Yes.
So it's a good thing that they're starting to revive, they're starting to bring people back. It's the same example I gave with VPZ. They focus on export. And them focusing on exports, they could not now sell their materials outside with Corona, but now we were able now to give them a solution. Let's produce this locally, then move the material is being done here. So if we can focus on the agricultural sector, which is God given to us,
yes,
and actually it's like our power tool, then we should work on it so that we can be producing more. I really feel bad when you hear farmers cry about their maize not being bought at the right price. I come back to the question, why would I import, I don't know, maize from Mexico to Kenya, and then I'm selling that bag at 1,000 or 1,500, when my farmer is telling me I need to sell it at 2,500.
Yes.
So all these things, and Munya being now in that docket, having worked with Munya even when he was in the trade ministry, he's a really focused guy, and I know he will try and look at this and see how can we be competitive.
Yes.
Yeah, the whole idea is be competitive and to increase production.
And when we come back, we will be looking at technology. You mentioned the landlords, and the landlords are having a pressure as we speak at the Old Mutual building right here in Nairobi CBD. Let's hear what they have to say.
To how we address the directive by the interior docket, and CS Matiang'i, also based on how we talked, we also thank you for your support. Our all and our call is to make sure that however difficult this situation is, we should not let any Kenya feel that they are alone. Among the organizations also we have LATEC Kenya. LATEC is Landlords and Tenants Association. And LATEC has come up with directives in consultation with all the landlords. And the Landlords and Tenants Association of Kenya, LATEC, directs all tenants not to pay rent until President Uhuru Kenyatta orders business to resume normal operations. Consequently, all the landlords must forthwith stop evictions, harassment, disconnection of water, electricity to tenants who are not in position to pay the rent of April, and thereafter with immediate effect until the government orders reopening of all the businesses in the country. And yenyewe nyumba itaoza, bado italeta pesa. But for purposes of the well-being of Kenyans, for Kenyans to stay in their house, please landlords. For Kenyans to stay in their house, because this is a collective responsibility for everybody. We all have to play our part. If we play our part correctly, we can defeat this thing within 3 months and we'll go back to normalcy. They are saying in United States that this thing can go until 2022. In South Korea, they said that even those who are tested, they are having recurring features. So my friend, if we do not prevent it, and we let it come and we treat people and come, then they reoccur, then this thing will belong to landlords who will lose more money. So all landlords who are paying loans should go to their financial institutions to be given a moratorium immediately in line with the CBK directives to negotiate with their banks to be granted a moratorium. That already, we thank you, His Excellency Mr. President, for the steps you took with the CBK. Water Resources and Management Authority WAMA under the Water Act 2026 to waive all water bills from now until we combat the COVID-19 situation. Kenya Electricity Generating Companies, KENGEN, and Kenya Power to immediately subsidize rates to suit our members in this time of crisis. Note that 18 million tenants and 15 million of landlords need this immediate action so that they can manage to provide food to their families as captured in the Constitution. The Constitution provides this right for decent accommodation or habitation for all Kenyans. And fellow Kenyans, the moment when the legislatures are not moving quick to enact policies, which we need now, I think we are right and we are justified to step back to Article 1 of our Kenyan Constitution, which gives sovereign authority to the Kenyan citizen. And that sovereign authority, we can exercise it directly or indirectly. The people we delegated it to democratically have failed us. And with this effect, this is why we've consulted with the landlords directly. And thank you to some of the landlords who have gone ahead. A number of landlords actually have implemented this directive that we're talking about now. And as we're talking, certain tenants are at peace and are implementing the health requirements without stress. Unfortunately, we are still having some rogue tenants. We are always having some rotten apples, isn't it? Fellow tenants, these are the times to unite. Wherever you are, protect each other. But in line with the authority, get in touch with the police, but make sure you protect each other. Let no Kenyan be left vulnerable at this moment. And thank you so much for Fourth Estate. I know you've been supportive and you've been out there getting all news and directing our Kenyans and also informing us, because the right to information is one challenge. And even as we've discussed a lot of things comprehensively that affects the above directives as ISWIC to make sure that all Kenyans are protected under law. We all as Kenyan citizens are writing a new chapter in the history of the world. How we handle this thing, fellow Kenyans, can be a study for our children in the future. Whenever another crisis appears, because this is not the first crisis in the world, we can enter the annal book of history that our parents came together. They did not just go out blaming the government, but they reached out. And this is the private sector. And Mr. President, it is the time when the private sector and public sector must work together. Unity must be the order of the day. If we are not united, then we can go in history like other countries who are going to fail in proper management of this pandemic. But we know there are other countries which have taken measures, and they've taken suitable measures. As Kenyans, we are also unique as Kenyans. We can do better. Who say we have to be equal to them? We can still be the best in human history, let's not use this pandemic as a charity case. Let's prevent lives and stop further death. Mr. President, we call upon you to join hands together with us, and we are ready. These are leaders of various important organizations, and they are ready to support. We will also join together with the organization you've arranged. Some of us are not able to access it. This is why our members have come to us to initiate this. And we invite all the philanthropies. We have a pay bill number through partnership with our financial institution, Asham Sacco. It's given us a pay bill number. Pay bill number yet.
Is the Landlords and Tenant Association having a briefing right here in the capital, Nairobi, and some of the things they've talked about is they have urged landlords not to evict anyone who is unable to pay the rent or harass or even disconnect power and water. You know, that's something that I've noticed mostly in Nairobi. It starts with the power and then the water, and then eviction comes later. And I've called on the president, of course, to take control. And actually, the good thing he has talked about is that the public and the private sector now is the time to work together. They've asked those who are servicing loans, the tenants, the landlords that are servicing loans, they should actually go to the financial institution to seek reprieve or relief, for that matter. Subsidize KenGen and the water companies that we have in the country to subsidize electricity. Actually, not KenGen, it should be KPLC, because KenGen is for production of energy in the country. And of course, this one, they have thanked the media for how we've been able to conduct ourselves in the wake of the coronavirus pandemic. Your sentiments from what you've heard?
This is timely. This is something I discussed earlier.
Yes.
And the Tenants and Landlord Association, I think what they have done is just kudos. It's what Kenyans have just been waiting for to hear. He mentioned they have rogue landlords.
Yes.
In any community, the rogue people are always there, but we can find ways to handle them. And one thing they've mentioned is the reprieve for 3 months or until everything normalizes and goes back to normal. When we say people to stay at home, for example, especially when you're not in the essential services business, please just stay at home, because that is the way we will be able to fight the spread of coronavirus. It's the people who spread the virus. It's not even the cars and or the police or anything else. If people are able to stay at home and they are comfortable, that the landlord will not come knocking and say, hey, it's end month, where is your rent? But they are able to stay at home and feel like, I have my little money, which I can focus on buying food. So at least this person will be able to contain themselves to stay at home. So I think right now, this is something everybody was waiting for. And I think it's also a big reprieve for the national government, that if the Tenant and Landlord Association have agreed on this, then I think even people containing people now will be easier, because now it's a big relief. Because, for example, let's talk of Nairobi. I think we can talk of 80 to 90%, actually 90% are tenants. So if people are able to stay in their homes and follow the government MHO orders, then that will be in order. The other thing that I've liked is, I'd mentioned earlier, is the same landlords who were saying, we got loans. They can now go seek monetariums, go talk to your bank, and if everybody now is listening. So that by the time you're telling this your tenant, 3 months, you stay until everything normalizes. When we go back, we'll go back to our normal routine. So this hardship, you are mentioning, they start cutting power in your house, they cut water. The other day, so even they are removing doors
and
tomorrow, iron sheets tomorrow. So, and I hope the IG and the police now can come in very strongly and condemn especially any landlord who now goes beyond this and take those primitive measures.
And perhaps to chip in just a minute, they are calling on the president. They're not even asking the government, they're calling on President Uhuru Kenyatta to say something in regard to the same.
Yeah. He's now the person who now can enforce this. If he says now, nobody will be evicted. And that is what the association has said.
Yes.
Nobody should be evicted. Then everybody will sit pretty. And I can feel sorry for that landlord who will go and try shenanigans at this moment.
Yes.
Because now the mass will work on you.
Yes.
So that is why they're insisting on if the president talks,
yes,
that's authority. The authority has spoken that you should not evict anyone because the landlord association, we've agreed, and that's why the partnership of the private and public sector at this moment is. And I've liked what the chairman also has said about we don't need always to copy-paste what the other countries are doing. We can work on this on our own uniqueness, we have the capabilities, and come through this stronger and as one. Yeah.
And just to look at, of course, some are talking about not paying rent. It's quite something. I'm quite sure they must have heard what the landlords and tenants association are talking about. And still on the same, before you go to how technology is being used in third world countries, of course, in Europe, Asia, and America, they have far much better equipment when it comes to technology and the use of the internet. Should there be a legislation perhaps to govern some of the things and incentives currently as we speak? Should they actually, the legislators, go back? They went, yes, they were talking about, actually they were ratifying some of the measures that the president had announced. And Johnson Sakaja, the Nairobi senator, has talked about radical measures like, of course, to cushion vulnerable Kenyans, rent being one of them. Of course, not all Kenyans, but those affected by the pandemic.
Well, one thing will be amazing is when you talk of, I had Sakaja's, he's chairing at the Senate the COVID committee. And it's very interesting how you differentiate this, that these are vulnerable Kenyans should not pay rent. You're able to pay rent, because I know everybody will take advantage and say what, we are not paying rent for the next 3 months.
And also there are those people who are taking pay cuts.
Pay cuts, yeah.
Yes, they could use that.
Yeah, they could, yeah, because,
so it could be abused.
Yeah, it could be abused. And you know, you will not come and ask for my pay slip so that you can see if I'm still earning the same salary, because even most you don't even know my salary. So at the end of the day, that's why we can say, if we can be noble and work as a team, if you are able to pay rent, please pay. Yeah. If, for example, even if you're not paying the full, maybe pay 50%. Why again I'm saying this, you'll find some landlords, even if I don't have a loan, I eat because of that, the rent, that house that you are sitting in. So when you tell me I'm not getting any shilling, and for example, you find we have tenants who are retirees, they are not getting a salary, so they depend on that rent. So if you are able even to pay something small, pay so that also the landlord can have some food to eat. So here is where we come, goodwill, people of goodwill, and we avoid a lot of shortcuts and being funny, and just come together and say, you know, we're in this together. If I can be able to chip in something, let me chip in. And together, I think we can overcome.
And earlier you talked about the use of technology, and we have seen it being used. Of course, online businesses are getting something because of this pandemic. We are talking about a country in Kenya where we have around 4.5 million Kenyans who have a computer. But of course, that number could reduce when it comes to the net, the internet connections. How can we further make that online business something that could boost our trade? You work for KCCI.
Yeah. One, the president the other day launched an internet initiative, and people were talking of balloons and some making even jokes about it, that we are talking about COVID, and the president is focusing on internet accessibility. But now the president was seeing the need now.
What the president was doing.
Yes. So if you get your you have your laptop, you have your desktop in your house. When we say stay at home, some people are still working, but you need the internet. You need to do your mails, you need to do your meetings. We have the likes of Zoom and these other WhatsApp, people doing Skype and all that. All these need internet. Then come to businesses. we are talking of online shopping.
Yes.
You still need that internet. You still need that computer,
smartphone,
or your smartphone. And to order. And one of the solutions actually as chambers that when I talked of some of the solutions that we've been giving our members is try now and sell your merchandise online. If you have that hardware or even that supermarket. For example, I mentioned several of them we've advised and they have gone to that to say, even without the internet, just have can I call it a mini call center? Have a number where somebody can call and then you can list your items. Even if you don't have an internet, list your items, say what you want, pay, get the pay bill number, pay, they call a boda rider, where do you stay, live, because they have also recruited some boda riders to do that. So all this is technology coming together because it's phone is come to my door, I've already paid, you just need to drop, this is your address, this is where you are. Okay. And we move on.
Hold the thought. The Boda Association is also holding a presser here in Nairobi. Let's listen in.
And in Kenya we live on hand to mouth, that huyo mtu ataweza kupata hiyo rent. So tuvumiliane, hii hali ni mbaya kwa kila mtu, sio kitu inabagua. Kwa hivyo landlord, vumilia huyo mtu wako. Uhuru Kenyatta ametusaidia, amesema uende kama uko na loan, muongee, isimamishwe kwa muda fulani. So let nobody harass the other. LATAC has spoken on behalf of the majority of landlords, and we thank those ones that walikubali hata kabla ya hii amri itolewe wakakuwa wanasaidia. So I believe tuko pamoja, hakuna mtu anapinga hii kitu, tumekubaliana. President Uhuru saidiana na LATAC, saidiana na Stand with Kenya kwa ile team reform, so that all Kenyans wasijisikia wakiwa wa Kenya na wasidhurumiwe tena juu haki zimedhurumiwa. Nashukuru sana. Asanteni.
Okay, thank you for the stage with the few remarks we've made. Unless there's a question, we can call it a day. And thank you so much for coming. There's a question.
Just announcing the same presser at Old Mutual building here in Nairobi, where they're talking about nobody should be harassed, and especially now where we're having this corona pandemic. And the first line of defense has been to stay indoors, together with washing your hands and keeping safe. I can say we have around some couple of minutes. How can you rate how the measures that the government has or is implementing in terms of trade?
So
should there be done? Should they be doing more? Or what else should they be doing?
I mentioned earlier about the 4 major steps that the government should do. That is during the corona and post-corona. I will not go back into that, but I will not want to go into rating them at the moment. But what I will say is we are doing pretty well. If you look at the curves of other countries, how it's been happening, at the moment, we were projecting we will be in thousands of number of the sick. There's the other argument side of it that we are not doing the mass testing. That's why maybe it's slow. But I can say I will not use so far so good because there's nothing good about this. But what I will say is if we adhere to the government directions, then I think we will be somewhere. When you have people still wanting to imbibe even on the roadsides, and you people in courts, and you've been told that to stay at home, and you do not want to listen to that. If you're not in the essential services, stay at home. The landlords now have helped. We're saying, you know what, don't pay, so relax. Yeah, you have some money for your food, order for food, and that. The other day also, I remember when the CS gave instructions, for example, the private car, it should only be 2 people. Then I got someone calling and asking me, when you guys say 2 people, what do you mean? I said it means 2 people as basic as that. So he was like, what about my kids? When I carry my kids, can I be arrested? And I asked him a very simple question. You are carrying your kids going where?
Yes.
You should be in the house. Where are you taking your kids?
Yes, and most kids are not on essential services.
Yes.
Right? Yes.
So, you know, we take it serious. This is not the time, I don't know, you've not visited your grandmother, I don't know for how many years. This is the time you want to go to the checkpoint at Thika and you want to go home and visit your grandmother. We are not on holiday. Actually, what I'm telling people, we are at war. It's only this war we are not using guns. It's a pandemic. So if people can just listen to the measures, and the government is really trying, and they are really trying actually even to be soft. Yeah, because if you look at what's happening all over the world with the lockdowns, total lockdowns and all that, they are trying, let us not get there.
Yes.
That's the prayer the government is even asking you. Just adhere to these measures. A month or 2, 3, we will be okay. We go back to a normal. So whatever measures they have done so far, even the reprieve in the VAT, the 16%, pay as you earn, all these measures are trying, and I know they will go as time goes, they move on, they will come up with extra measures. This thing is you take one step at a time. We do not have a limit that we are saying is only for a month or 2. We do not know until when. But if we act right now, focus on the preventive measures, then I think we'll be somewhere as a country.
And I don't want to be a prophet of doom here, but we have to look also at the bigger picture. Have you, as a Kenya National Chamber of Commerce and Industry, thought of what would happen if, God forbid, we have a total lockdown in the country?
God forbid that.
Have you discussed that? Have you looked at that angle?
Yes, we've looked at that angle if we go to a lockdown. But one thing, even if we go to a total lockdown, essential commodities will still move. And by the time the government decides we go to a total lockdown, I know they will have put measures in place to cushion Kenyans. And we will support the directive that the government will give, because they have the statistics, they know what's working and what's not working. That's why, again, I say, not even being a prophet of doom, I'm urging Kenyans and praying and telling them, you know, just listen, sanitize. You see somebody coming to your premises, they don't want to do a basic thing. You tell them, I've put water there. Wash your hands. But somebody just arrogant and saying, you know.
Yeah, and the social distance.
Yeah, social distance. I tell you, 1.5 meters, you still want to push, come. You know, let us all be civil at this moment and try work as a team. If we go to a lockdown, God forbid again, it will not be very pleasant for so many. It will hurt. But we are praying we don't get there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because of interest of time, your final one.
My final word again is to Kenyans. Again, I've said we are at war. The only thing, we do not have guns in this war.
Yes.
But it's me and you. Everyone who can do that little thing, something as simple as adhering to what the government is saying, you are playing your part. If you are philanthropic, please help where you can. Ask your neighbor, how can I support you? For the business community, we'll keep on trying to advocate for measures, especially from the county level, how we'll keep them going so that at least we have the economy moving, even if it's moving slow, but we keep on, the businesses are going on and all that. But all I want to request questions is, this requires teamwork. This is where all hands in deck. As an individual, do your part. The government will do its part, the private sector, the public sector. If everybody does their part, then I think we'll be able to overcome. And for the Buddha guys, they were just speaking right now. Please, you've just been requested, carry only one passenger. Please, this attitude, you know, that, you know, what will you do? I'm going to carry 2 or 3 people.
Yes.
Private cars. Maximum means 2 people. Don't start thinking how many children you want to carry tomorrow, taking them where, going where.
Yes.
Yeah, so let us work together, stay at home. If you're not in the essential services, please stay at home. Yeah, and then it will be easy for everyone. Services will be provided and we'll be able to overcome. Yeah.
And I can see, Dennis, you're talking about the government should first embark on mass testing. Of course, it was launched yesterday, talking about mass testing of the general public. First before any other measures. Of course, that started because it started yesterday with medical personnel being the first ones, being on the front line of the fight against the pandemic. Unfortunately, our time is up, but indeed, thank you so much for making time. Have been speaking to the Kenya National Chamber of Commerce and Industry, CEO of Central Region, We were talking about how the coronavirus has affected mostly businesses, both small and big, and of course the economy of the country, and we have been able to put some aspects into perspective. Thank you so much indeed for watching. Lensa Odingo has been our sign language interpreter for this afternoon.
Next on.
Siwezi kusaini. Kwa nini? Kwa sababu sina pesa.
Inawezekanaje kwamba huna fedha?
Nakwambia ukweli.
Bwana Ruan, kwa mujibu wa makubaliano, hiki ndicho unachostahili. Kuanzia sasa na kuendelea, hatuna deni tena.
Tukianza kuhesabu Dubai, Moscow, Prague na Madrid na Cologne, huu ni wa 6. Pia ni safi sana.
Na hili ndilo ghala letu la kwanza.
Nimegundua kuwa haunihitaji tena. Unaweza kufanya mambo yako mwenyewe bila ulinzi wangu. Umeshakuwa.
Next on Corner.
She's gone back to work for Abasi. And you know what's worse? He's blackmailing me.
But she could have come to me. I have contacts too.
For once in my life, Ma, I want to do something on my own.
But you aren't on your own. You're with Abasi.
You need to concentrate.
Yes, Dad, but...
Yes, Coach. She is the one who went to the police and told them that I am the one who broke into the gym. She is the one who is trying to destroy me.